Welcome to another week of Instigating with Clarkie and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture and, of course, Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC. Clarkie away this week. He's going to see the boss. He's down south in Pittsburgh. He's going to see the boss. So we thought we'd bring on one of our friends, a special guest host, our buddy. You know this guy from CKNX Jr Hockey, which is entering its 20th season. Our friend Steve Sabourin, we're going to be talking about that a lot later, and we're very pleased to be joined. Look, NFL football, it's around the corner. This guy loves his football. We've had him on before, and he's a beauty. Our friend Justin Pooni from Homestand Sports. Justin, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, boys. It's a pleasure to be back. The last time we talked, we were talking a lot of hockey, talking about my Canucks a lot. But I'm excited to talk some football because, it's the end of summer, but it's the beginning of football season, which might be sweeter than anything the summer can provide, in my opinion.
I think both of us agree on that one, and there's a lot to talk about, and I figured, look, it's a popular thing to make some predictions. The NFL, it's a monster in terms of betting and betting your buddies on how things are going to work out with your team. So I thought, why not make a bunch of predictions? Let's do that. Let's be those guys. I figured we go around the table with a bunch of stuff. Let's just dive right in and start with our MVP pick. Who do we think is going to lord over the NFL this year and be voted the most valuable player? Justin, you're our guest. I'd like you to start us off. Give us your pick and tell us why you feel strongly that this player is going to be the MVP.
I want to see Dak Prescott win MVP. I think for what the Dallas Cowboys, all the noise and all the hoopla around them for not signing CeeDee Lamb, not signing Micah, Dak's going into his final year. Why not just add the cherry on top of Dak Prescott winning MVP? Now, he put up the numbers. He has the numbers to put it up. I'm assuming CeeDee Lamb will be there. The team offensively behind CeeDee Lamb is not very good, so he's going to need those numbers to be valuable. And the Cowboys are in the luxury of playing in the NFC, which is the lesser conference. I think it's going to be a fight between them and Philly to be the best team in that division. But I think, why not Dak Prescott? A lot of books, you can get him at plus 2,000 right now, so there's some decent value. For sheer storyline purposes and drama, I would love to see Dak Prescott win MVP this year and put up a monster number, and then you get a monster contract in the offseason next year from whomever the highest bidder is going to be.
60, 65 mil a year, maybe, especially if Dak does that. Maybe kiss 70. You never know. Yeah. Steve, do you agree with Justin, or do you have a different outlook on MVP?
I'm going off the board a little bit here, and there's a couple reasons why.
Okay.
One reason is because this team has a top-rated offensive line coming into the season. They've got the 7th best receiving core. They've improved on defense. And last year, only Tua threw for more yards than he did. Jared Goff as MVP.
Wow.
The Detroit line. So there's a lot of things that have to happen. But, I mean, they're coming into the season. They're aiming for a Super Bowl. Anything beyond a Super Bowl for them is going to be a disappointment because they were so close last year and they have all the pieces again this year. And they're going to have to play for it. They've got a tougher schedule. They're in a tougher division with the improvements that the other teams have made in it. But Jared Goff, when you look at his statistics, he is right there amongst the top. So he doesn't rush a lot, but you give him a top offensive line, and I think he'll be able to do wonders.
I would like that. I don't think that's that far off the board. Maybe in some books. Jared Goff, heck of a player. He's revived his career. I like that pick a lot, and you could probably get some really good value on that. I like that one. I'm going to go a little different as well. Of course, I'm going to pick a quarterback, and I'm going to pick a guy. Look, if Jared Goff wins MVP, Eminem, Slim Shady, he'll be very happy. I'm going to pick a guy that's doing his best Slim Shady impression right now, and that's Joey Burrow. I love, Steve, you know this. Joey Cigars helped me win a fantasy football championship 2 years ago. I'm a big believer in Joey Cigars, and I think that kid healthy is going to come back with an absolute vengeance. And I think with a motivated Jamar Chase who wants the bag as well, and we're still waiting to see what will happen in terms of the rest of that receiving core, but you mix in Joe Mixon and a really, really potent offense. We'll see what they're like on defense, but when Joe Burrow has the ball, there are not very many guys that I'm more afraid of in the NFL because that kid's a killer. Joe Burrow's my pick for MVP. Let's jump into AFC Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year. We'll make both picks for the conference consecutively here. Justin, start us off. Who's going to be the Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC?
I think it's going to be maybe Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase, he wants to get paid. I think everything you mentioned, Ryan, about Joe Burrow is very true. I could see Jamar Chase put up a monster number to validate that new contract that he's probably going to get before the season. I can see him put up big numbers. Tyreek, I do see he's obviously the sexy choice, but the Dolphins also run the ball very effectively as well. And I think with the loss of the loss of Tyler Boyd in the slot, and you have just T. Higgins, who's had some injury problems, you're going to have to lean on Jamar Chase quite a lot. I like him for Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC, and for Defensive Player of the Year in the AFC, it's got to be Myles Garrett. Come on, he's the best defensive player in football. I think that's no question about it. He's a force. That Cleveland defense is an absolute machine when it gets going. That's going to be the driving force for the Browns to hopefully make the playoffs. Myles Garrett is going to win that easily. And you talk about athletic specimens and freak of nature athletes that we just saw in the Olympics. Put Myles Garrett up with any one of them, and he'll blow him out of the water athletically. That guy's an absolute beast.
I like that pick a lot. I actually considered him. I did not pick him, though, so stay tuned for just a sec because he's not my pick, although I love those ones. Steve, what are your picks? Offensive player and defensive player in the AFC?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill comes in on my list for that, only because the Dolphins are going to rely on him very, very heavily to win that AFC division. And he's going to have to be, a key target. Of course, with his foot, we'll have to see how that holds up as the seasons go on. He tends to get a little wobbly, but and then for Defensive Player of the Year, I also going with Mr. Miles out of Cleveland, but a dark horse for me, I will throw in Roquan Smith out of Baltimore. Second season inside linebacker with the Ravens. Out of the Defensive Player of the Year votes last year, he finished 8th, but he led everybody in tackles. And he is a key cog of that Ravens defense. So now that in year 2, they're refocused, we could see him climb up the list a little bit.
Absolutely. I love the love for Smith. He's a freak as well. So 2 down for Myles Garrett, different picks for Offensive Player of the Year. Let me tell you what my thoughts are. Justin, you and I are very aligned offensively. I've got Jamar Chase because I figured, hey, if I'm going to pick Joey Cigars to win MVP, Jamar Chase is going to help carry him there. I'm not joking. I've seen it once in my lifetime when Moss did it. I think that Jamar Chase could catch 20-plus touchdowns. I believe that much in him, and I think the Bengals have a big statement to make here. Everybody loves the Ravens, and for good reason. Lamar's a freak. They got good defense. They got that Flowers kid now. I think people are sleeping on the Bengals, and I think Jamar Chase and Joey Burrow could combine for some massive stats. Give me him all day for Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, like I said, this could have been a triumvirate of Myles Garrett, but I wanted to go a different direction, and I'm not just saying this to be different and contrarian. I genuinely believe if all things click right this year, and Aaron Rodgers is healthy, and this defense plays up to their capability, and this kid has 7-8 interceptions, maybe brings a couple back for touchdowns, I like Sauce Gardner. I like him a lot. Justin doesn't like my pick, but I think you could get good money on this kid, and I think he's a freak.
Look, I like Sauce a lot. He's probably the best cornerback in football, or one of the, if not, top 3. But the voters just will always go for the sack numbers. It's like MVP with the MVP award. Whoever has the best sack numbers is going to win Defensive Player of the Year, regardless of a corner, because also teams know they don't want to throw it Sauce's way because they don't want it. get picked. So it's going to be hard for him to get, 7-8 picks in a season. I think he's one of the best cornerbacks in football, but we know it's such a numbers-based thing that I don't see he's going to have the gaudy numbers like a Darrelle Revis had when he won, or a Stephon Gilmore to win Defensive Player of the Year.
I know it's hard. I am taking a risk here. And again, I considered Miles because he's Miles and he's the big dog on campus. But I think if everything clicks right for the Jets, and I know that's saying a lot, okay? I know that. I do believe he's good enough to be one of those rare corners like Stephon Gilmore, like Charles Woodson, and guys that we've mentioned in the past that have done it. I think that he could do it. Sauce Gardner's my pick. Let's transition to the NFC. Go ahead.
One thing, Ryan. Yeah, I think the one point that helps your argument with Gardner is the division he plays in. Two teams are pass happy in the Bills and the Dolphins. Both quarterbacks will try to force the issue against the Jets. And they also have the Patriots in there, which will be prone to mistakes. So going two games in the schedule against each team could help Gardner's statistics.
Well, it'll be an interesting year for sure, but Miles is, of course, the favorite, Myles Garrett, and deservedly so. Let's transition to the NFC. Justin, offensive and defensive player of the year in the NFC. Go ahead.
NFC, I think Aiden Hutchinson of Detroit. I think, again, he's a game wrecker on the defensive line. He's a guy who's coming into his own, becoming one of the best pass rushers in the game. You have, of course, Nick Bosa in San Francisco. You have Micah Parsons in Dallas. But I really like Aiden Hutchinson, and I think he gets kind of lost in the shuffle because there's so many great pass rushers in the NFL. And the other thing, too, guys, is he's playing for a new deal as well. Like, he just came in the league, but the clock is ticking for his new contract as well. So he's got a little bit more incentive too. So I could see him putting up 15 plus sacks this year. And I think that Detroit team is really good offensively, but I also think their defense has improved too. They made some nice pickups on the back end through the draft. And I think when you have a good secondary, that means there's less chance to throw the ball. More receivers are covered. The quarterback holds the ball. More opportunity for sacks. So I think Aiden Hutchinson could feast on that. And as for offensive player of the year, a guy who changed cities in free agency, going from one division rival to another, and that's Saquon Barkley. I think if Saquon can stay healthy with the addition of Kellen Moore in Philadelphia, we're hearing Jalen Hurts has been perfect, not throwing any interceptions in training camp, so take that for what you will. But I could see Saquon Barkley being an absolute dominant force behind that Philadelphia offensive line. He hasn't played behind an offensive line like he's had in Philadelphia ever. I can see him rushing for a crazy amount of yards. We know he's a dual threat, can catch the ball as well. And then you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert to worry about as well. There's going to be a lot of empty space for a guy like Saquon. He could have a Christian McCaffrey-like season that we saw last year where he won Offensive Player of the Year. So I definitely think Saquon will be in the play for Offensive Player of the Year.
I like that a lot. And yeah, I mean, the question with lots of these guys, because the NFL is health. And if he is healthy, there are a few guys in the league that are more talented than Saquon Barkley. Steve, how about your picks for the NFC?
Yeah, so for these two, sticking with the mainstream, Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys, when you look again who they play this season, he's just going to eat them up. He's a consistent contender. And Christian McCaffrey, he's proven multi-purpose yards. He's a proven commodity. So I think, again, where they are in the West, that offense is just going to tear up some turf against who they're facing, and McCaffrey's going to be a big part of it.
Well, I won't waste any time. I'm on your ship there with Dallas. I think Micah Parsons, for the same reasons that we love Myles Garrett, he's just such a specimen. Again, health can be a concern with this guy too. Absolutely. But if he is healthy and plays even 16 games, I think that he could put up some really gaudy numbers. And that is an aggressive defense in Dallas. They love to push the issue, and I like him. Dark horse, I'll throw a dark horse out now. My guy that I'm furious my team traded for a third-round pick, Don't sleep on Matt Judon making some noise in Atlanta. That's a big time improvement down there. And they added today, as we record this on Thursday, August 15th, two-time Pro Bowler Justin Simmons at safety as well. So shoring up that back end where they're going to maybe deflect some passing threat away, and that'll allow Judon to eat. And keep in mind, Matt Judon played on a terrible team with the Patriots, and he was the heartbeat of that defense. So don't sleep on him, but I think Micah will win it. As far as offensive player of the year in the NFC, give me CeeDee Lamb. And I know Justin will like that because of his MVP pick. If Dak goes off, CD has got to be playing right, and no skips on that CD. He has got to be letter perfect to help potentially Dak Prescott chase that MVP award, and he needs to go off, and he's going to get a massive contract any old time now. It's going to come down to CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the most talented guys in the league. All right, that's all of our picks in terms of individual awards. Let's talk division winners here. We'll start in the AFC, and I figure we'll just go right through each division as we go through. So, Justin, I'll pass it over to you. Who's going to win the AFC East, North, South, and West?
Okay, so out east, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. I think, look, Buffalo has been the main staple in that division, but they just lost Matt Milano with a torn bicep. Josh Allen has new receivers he's got to work out the kinks with. It's a new D. They lost a whole bunch of guys in the offseason. I think Buffalo is a playoff team, a wild card team for sure. But I just think what Miami's done the last couple years without a high octane offense. They should have won the division last year. They didn't choke away at the end of the year. I think they get it done this year. They win that division. In the South, it's the Texans. The Texans are the best team far and away. Don't be surprised if you see the Texans in the AFC Championship game taking on Patrick Mahomes for the trip to the Super Bowl. This team is loaded. I love CJ Stroud, his moxie, his guts. D'Amico Ryans was a great coach. The addition of Stephon Diggs was big, and there was a lot of drama attached to it, but I think he'll fit in because he's on a one-year deal. He's got to prove himself if he wants to get paid. And then they've added Daniil Hunter on the defense as well to go with Will Anderson. Texans win that division. The North, probably the best division in football. I say the Baltimore Ravens win that because I think Derrick Henry is going to be rejuvenated in Baltimore. I think he leads the league in rushing. I think Zay Flowers is going to have another big year. We know what Lamar is, a two-time MVP. They always have a good defense in Baltimore. It's going to be neck and neck between them and Cincinnati, but Baltimore does win that. Out West, the Chiefs. The Chiefs win that division. They call it the Arrowhead Invitational. That's their division to win, no matter what. It's over already. You can wrap it up and put a bow on that division.
Yeah, that one I think is probably going to be across the board, and there's really no explanation needed picking the Chiefs. Yeah. The only way they lose that division is if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. That's literally the only, and God forbid that happens, that's the only way that they lose that division. Steve, your thoughts on the AFC division winners?
All right, West, the Chiefs. South, Houston. No explanations needed for those. In the North, Cincinnati with an asterisk. If Baltimore wins one of the two head-to-head games, Baltimore wins that division. I feel Cincinnati has to sweep Baltimore in their meetings in order to get top spot. In the East, Miami, based on schedule. Miami does not play Kansas City, Baltimore, or Detroit. Buffalo does. Those are three huge games that the Bills have to play. Miami does face Green Bay, but that's a winnable game for Miami. Whereas the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Lions against the Bills, I would actually put Buffalo as an underdog in all three. So Miami in the East.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And in terms of my picks, pretty similar. Chiefs, again, don't really need to explain why. Texans, I believe in CJ Stroud as well. I love the system. D'Amico Ryans, he's completely breathed life into what was a dead corpse of a franchise, and him and CJ Stroud have just turned that into must-watch television. And now you add Stephon Diggs into the mix there. I really like what they're doing down there in Houston. It's going to be a fun year for them. I've got the Bengals. I'm sure you guys saw that coming because I've been putting a lot of faith in our individual picks. I like Joe Burrow for MVP. I like Jamar Chase for Offensive Player of the Year. So of course I like the Bengals to win, but I agree with you, Steve, with the way the rest of their schedules shake out respectively. They got to beat the Ravens both times, road and away. If they don't do that, Baltimore's got a softer schedule down the stretch, in my opinion, anyway. And the Chiefs can't slip up. And hey, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And the Ravens are that right now. But I do believe the Bengals can scratch and claw their way to a division title. Dolphins for me in the East, too. My Patriots are years away. We'll see what Drake May turns into. My fingers are crossed, but they're a long way away. They just traded away our best player in Matt Judon. It's going to be a long year for them. They're going to get beat up by everybody. The Bills... oh, man, that's a lot of question marks. And not that there's not question marks with the Dolphins, too. And hey, like I said earlier with Sauce Gardner, if things go right for the Jets, which I don't even know what that means anymore. Aaron Rodgers throws 30 touchdowns. I don't know. Just stay healthy for longer than 4 snaps. They'll be in contention. I think that if everything goes okay for them, they could be a wild card team at best. I even if Aaron Rodgers is healthy and they play really well, I still don't see them being better than Miami. Too much talent, too much skill, too many weapons on offense, and their defense is underrated too. And they scored a lot of points on defense last year. Give me the Dolphins to win that division as well. NFC, let's switch over. Justin, give us your 4 division winners in the National Football Conference.
All right, we're going to go to the most talked about division of football, the NFC East. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I know Dak is my MVP choice, but here's the thing with Dak. Because the Cowboys have such a lack of offensive weapons and they did nothing in free agency, that narrative is going to be, oh, Dak put the team on his back and carried them to a wild card berth in the playoffs. So the Philadelphia Eagles, they're too good. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a bounce back year. I think Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio are going to have a big impact on that team. The Eagles probably get the number 1 seed in the NFC, in my personal opinion. So they win that division. They win that division going away. Out south, the NFC South, the worst division in football, the Atlanta Falcons. They just added Justin Simmons. They added Matthew Judon. They have Kirk Cousins. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a bounce back year. I think Bijan Robinson's going to have a bounce back year. You still have Drake London. That's a really, really good team. And they play in a really, really bad division. So that means a lot of free wins. The Atlanta Falcons win that division. The North, I was flip-flopping between the Packers and the Lions. I really like Jordan Love a lot, but the Lions are just too talented and they're more experienced, I think. The Lions will win that division. And out west, I think everybody thinks it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers, but no, it's not. They're an older team. There's going to be injuries. Trent Williams is not going to be hasn't been around all training camp. Christian McCaffrey is already hurt. What about Brock Purdy? You know, if those 2 guys are missing and they miss time, he struggles mightily. The LA Rams are going to win this division. I think Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, if he's healthy, with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back healthy, and the 2 running backs they have, they win that division.
Wow, I like that. That. That's an interesting pick. That if that comes good for you, you better be laying some cash down on this. You could be looking at a healthy raise here. I like that a lot. Justin Pooni bringing the heat. Respect for not picking your Seahawks. I thought that's what you were going to do for a sec.
We're in a year 1 of a new era in Seattle. Things are great. I think, look, a wild card spot is definitely in the cards. Give us 1 more year, 1 more good draft, and watch. We'll be back competing for that division and owning that division for years to come.
We'll take your word for it. Steve, what are your thoughts on the NFC?
Atlanta, that South Division's a dog's breakfast. So Falcons fly over them very easily. I picked San Francisco because of 2 reasons. Number 1, they still have a top-rated defense, and they're going to rely on them. Number 2, Kyle Shanahan's offensive thinking outside the box. He still has some cards to play, and they've got 1 more good year underneath them to win that division. The North, yeah, that's tough. Even like when you look at what's expected of the Chicago Bears of pulling some upsets, they could actually be the third party to maybe dictate who wins that division. But I'm going to go with the Lions again. That offensive line is, if they provide Goff the needed time, they're going to pick people apart. And they just too high skilled. And I mean, you look at those types of offenses in the past, the Kurt Warner days with the Rams. I would even put the Dallas Cowboys, like the Dallas Cowboys offensive line when they had Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. They just shoved defenses out of the way, and they had their way with them. So Lions in the North, Eagles in the East, because nobody loves finishing a season 1-6, and they are mad. So it's going to be a refocus for them, and I feel sorry for the Commanders and the Giants because they're going to be Eagle feed for those games. So it's Philadelphia.
I like that a lot, and I feel similarly. Through a lot of this. Let's just start where we feel the same. Falcons, the Dirty Birds, man. I feel like people are sleeping on them, and that division is absolutely atrocious. But they are. I don't even want to say they're the best of a bad bunch. They're the best that happens to be paired up with a bad bunch. I actually think that this team could make some serious noise and maybe even win a playoff game with old Kirky Cousins in there. I think that the Falcons could be the team that we talk about, similar to what the Packers did last year, where they make noise and they knock a big dog off in that wild card game. I really believe in the talent they have there that much. Now, that's not saying much unless they execute. All right. We're going to talk about a player and a team in another sport in just a minute that we feel the exact same way about. Talent's one thing. You got to do it. But, man, that's an impressive regrouping of talent in Atlanta. They win that division walking away. I took the Cowboys to win the East. And the main reason is I'm scared of what I saw in Philly at the end of last year. Now, Saquon Barkley, hey, you cannot discount the improvements that this team has made. And that defense is still scary. They're the fastest defense in the league. They cover a lot of ground and they can eat you up. That team on a personal level was coming apart at the seams on the sideline last year, and that freaked me right out. And with the Cowboys and two of their premier players looking for big money and looking to perform and earn that, I think that they can get it right, which is saying a lot for the Cowboys, but that division's very bad. And if the Eagles trip up again and there's bickering on the sideline between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, I think the Cowboys could take advantage of that. I don't feel super confident about that pick, but I'm making it regardless. The West, until I love your Rams pick, Justin. I mean, I think that's a ballsy pick. It might be the ballsiest pick here because of who the Niners are and what they represent. I love Christian McCaffrey and I know there's some injury concerns. Until I see somebody knock them off, I got to take the easy pick here, and it's the Niners. Like you said, Steve, I think they got one last kick at the can here. They have to win the Super Bowl this year, or they are going to be going into a rebuild, and they got a lot of guys on expiring deals, particularly on defense. They have to win the Super Bowl this year, let alone the division. The North, my opinion, the hardest division to pick. And I like the Packers. I like the Packers. Look, I love the Detroit Lions. They're making the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. And Timmy Dukes, my buddy that loves Lions, I'm sorry to do this to you, brother. I like what the Packers did last year, and I only see them on an upswing. Youngest team in the league on both sides of the ball. And I think Jordan Love was so impressive last year, spreading the ball around, Watson and all those guys zooming all over the place. And that young defense, man, they have so many great young players on still cheap deals. They could add and make big noise at the trade deadline and really, really improve, particularly probably on offense. So I think the Packers could surprise everybody. I know Detroit's the sexy pick. Slim Shady, I'm sorry, brother, but it's going to be the Packers. They're going to win. And I think that they win the division by like a game. It comes down to the last week, but the Packers do it.
I think one of the things that helped the Packers last year was the surprise factor.
Sure.
I don't think the teams were properly prepared to face them this year.
That's a good point.
There's no more surprise. They know Love is for real, and they're going to be ready. And there's some good defenses in that division.
There are
going to make it a little tougher for Jordan to pass that ball around. But that's going to actually, out of all the divisions, when I was looking at the research, they actually had the Lions and Packers tying atop.
Wow. I'm not surprised by that. I'm
Yeah.
not surprised. These are two competitive teams, and you're right, that surprise factor's gone, and I'm taking a risk here, but I think Jordan Love's for real, and he shut a lot of people up. He shut up a lot of people last year, and I think he continues to do it. I love it. We've got some great picks in here, and I think I'm interested to review this at the end of the year and see how it all turned out for us. And on that note, Justin, now, we know you're a big football guy. You love the NFL. We know you love hockey too. As a matter of fact, Justin is one of the hosts with our buddy Albert Vartanian, who's been on the show many times, friends of the show, one of the hosts of Homestand Leafs, a great Leafs podcast that you should subscribe to and listen every week, especially if you're a Leafs fan. And boy, did we ever get a bombshell in the middle of summer here. The Leafs deciding to rip that C off Johnny T's sweater and hand it to the big cat. Auston Matthews, the big cactus, gets the C. Speak about teams that have lots of talent and don't end up showing it when it matters most. You could certainly point that squarely at him and the team he is now the definitive leader of, Justin. What were your thoughts on the move? And ultimately, where do you feel this potentially leads the Maple Leafs? Will anything change in the spring?
I think it's like putting lipstick on a pig. You can put as much makeup as you want on this pig to try to dress it up and change its appearance, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig, right? I think Auston Matthews it was inevitable he was going to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs at one point. It was interesting to hear how it went down, that obviously it wasn't Tavares' idea to give the C up, but how they kind of propped it up as that he was okay with it, and he came out yesterday and looked like he was reading directly off a prompter. Again, typical kind of emotionless from him. But it's not going to change anything, guys. It's not going to change anything. If anything, it might change Auston Matthews' game a little bit because he has now a little bit more obligation. That C in the blue and white with the maple leaf on it weighs a little bit differently than one with an A or no letter on it, right? He's going to have to answer questions every single day. Not saying he didn't do that already, but he's going to have to carry the brunt of it. And for John Tavares, I think this could be something positive for him where that weight on his shoulders kind of lessens a bit, right? And I also do think I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist here where I think Brad Treliving and them went to Johnny T and said, look, you give the C up and we'll make sure we take care of you in the offseason next year. But to answer the original question of, is it going to change anything in the playoffs? I don't think so. I don't think this team it's in the same position it was last year. They're good up front, but I have a lot of questions with the back end, and that's going to be their Achilles heel, and I just don't see them competing in the Eastern Conference still.
It's going to be really, really interesting for sure. And Steve, we've seen stuff like this happen before with, the Sharks obviously recently did this. The Jets did it. It's interesting that the old captain is still there. I mean, even my guy behind me here, Ovi, like he was handed the C after they traded Chris Clark away. Not Clarky, by the way, different Chris Clark. But he was the captain when Ovi was originally handed the C, but they traded him away and then gave the C. So it's odd to see the old captain handing it over. It's not something that happens very often. However, I think all of us kind of knew, like Justin said, eventually this would happen. This isn't new. Generally, the best player on 90% of the teams in the league, they give the captaincy to the best player on the team. But I do wonder, as Justin pointed out there, Steve, what your thoughts are on him having more obligation, because look, he's had one, I would say, really good playoff series, that 2019 series against Boston where he scored 5 goals in 7 games. Outside of that, and look, there's been a lot of underachieving on this team. That dude's the best player. And he has had some very subpar offensive performances in the playoffs. That can't happen anymore. And even if they do go out again in the first round, he's got to lead the team in points and score 4 or 5 in a series. Like, this guy has got to be a monster. Game one of not only the regular season, by the way, they better start like 8-3-2 or something like that. And in game one, he better be the best player in the series right away. Do you feel like that is possible?
Absolutely, it's possible. Like what Justin said about a relief for John Tavares, maybe, not having to deal with the team stuff. Maybe it's a relief for Matthews. Now he doesn't have to hold back. Before, he's not the captain. Yeah, he's a points leader and everything like that. But you put that C on the chest, now he is in the conductor's seat. He's pulling the train. The other thing it does, too, is the organization can't hide behind the question, well, why didn't you have Matthews out there in situations? Oh, well, we had to protect him, or we didn't want to put him in this position. He's your captain. He needs to be in as many positions as possible when your team's down to provide that leadership role. So it could be a springboard for him to be even better, hopefully. And the point about nobody likes giving up the C. I don't care who you are. And of course, Justin Tavares is there because they can't trade him. Who's going to pick up the contract?
That's true.
Yeah, even with the year left, like they can't escape from that.
No.
$11 million anchor.
He is there because of the money. They're tied up with him. Anyways, the other thing that the C will do, sell more jerseys.
Oh, of course it will. And people will get their Tavares jerseys with an A on it too, because Brad Treliving did confirm he would wear a letter still. So, hey, Keith Pelly showed up and said it's not about selling jerseys. Well, they're going to sell some.
Yeah. No, I really feel that getting the opportunity, because now it puts Matthews on the level of a Sidney Crosby, an Alex Ovechkin, a Connor McDavid, in the sense that you are the guy and we have full confidence in your capability. And so now will he run with it? He's out of his shell. And away we go.
We'll see.
I want to ask you guys a question. What your thoughts on this?
Please.
What did you guys make of Tree Living saying that they haven't determined the rest of the A's? John Tavares will have an A for sure, but they haven't determined the rest of the A's. We know a certain number 16 also wears an A, and then he was there yesterday, but didn't want to answer any questions about anything. Did you guys think that there's still a possibility that Mitch Marner is not a Toronto Maple Leaf come opening of training camp in September?
No, I think he's there now, but whether he's there the rest of the year remains to be seen. However, they were joking about this on Overdrive the other day. Noodles was joking, like, what's going to happen? Marner's going to have 32 points in his first 18 games, and the fans are all going to be screaming, and they're going to sign him, and they're going to give him $13 million and keep him around. That's probably what's going to happen. I do think he's there, though. Ultimately, I do think it might be the right move to trade him eventually here. They should have done it at the draft, but I do think he will be there at least for a significant portion of the season, Steve.
Yeah, again, it's like we go back to the 49ers talk about they need to win a Super Bowl this year. This is their chance. This is the Leafs' chance again to get to that next level. Like, I mean, once they trade one of their big guys, that hope is over. It's rebuilding mode. Because you're losing that contract. I mean, it's they're tied up. This is the year that they got to punch, and if they don't, then once one of those guys leaves, then it's going to be a rebuild.
Yeah, in the very least, a significant retool, right? Because let's say you walk away from the Tavares money, there's $11 million. What if you trade Mitch? Now you've got a lot of money to play with, but there's no guarantee you fill it with the things they need. Like, look, they really, really need a stud defenseman, which in my opinion, they still don't have. And those guys don't really get traded much. They don't see free agency much. Like Alex Pietrangelo was the last one. Really, really good player. you got to kind of draft those guys. And I don't know how the Leafs do that by competing for the division to get a guy that generally gets drafted in the top 8 picks or so. So it's a tough thing for them for sure. Justin, final one for you here. Based on the roster right now, Leafs over under 102.5 points.
I'm going to go under. I think.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this year,
don't love their goaltending.
It's going to be tough. Don't love the goaltending. Don't love the back end. I think that this Marner cloud, this dark cloud of Mitch Marner is going to hang over this team. And I think, look, they'll be a wild card team or third in the division. But look, I think Tampa, with the moves they made, that reshuffling they did, they're going to have a bad taste in it because everybody was kind of burning them after letting Stamkos walk. Florida, the defending Cup champions. I think Detroit eventually has to get good. Same with Ottawa and Buffalo. Like, they eventually got to take a step up. So the Atlantic, we know, is a tough division. That Eastern Conference is, a really deep conference as well. I think under. I think they get, the 98 to 99 points area to 98 to 100 points, kind of hovering around there. They'll still be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and they'll still be a playoff team, but I do see a little slippage here where there can be a little bit of a fall off for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm excited to see how it all turns out. I think everybody is. And there's a good chunk of the fan base too that's going, I'll see you in April. I'll see you in April.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I lived that reality for a long time too. I understand it. It'll be very interesting watching Auston Matthews wear the C. Justin Pooni from Homestand Sports. Guys, remember to subscribe to Homestand Leafs when the hockey season kicks in. Training camp just a couple weeks away, and Justin and Albert are going to keep you guys up to date on everything going on with the Leafs. Justin, thanks so much for joining our NFL predictions, and we really appreciate this, brother. It's good to see you.
Appreciate it. Go Canucks.
Absolutely. Go Canucks. I like them a lot. I think they're going to win the West, in my opinion. I actually have them going to the Cup final. That'll make you happy, brother. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, some big news in the local junior hockey world, losing a really significant person in the local junior hockey scene. Steve Sabourin and I are going to talk about that next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarky and Drury, brought to you by our friends Conway Furniture and, of course, Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, where the deals are always hot. There's a bunch of great stuff going on over there right now, 1000 Wallace Avenue East. Clarky, as we record this, he's down in Pittsburgh. He's seeing the boss. It's going to be amazing. But when he's back, if you're looking to get a new truck, new SUV, new car, you go over there, you talk to our friend Clarky. If you have a rep already, go see them. The deals are always hot over at Larry Hudson's. And, of course, look, some sad news in the local hockey scene here, and we're just going to get this right out of the way. Our Conway Furniture Couch Potato of the Week, and for everybody who doesn't know, I don't know how you don't know by this point, our friend Phil Main, he can tell you where Conway Furniture is.
Conway Furniture, Highway 86, just east of Listowel.
That's right. Thank you, Phil. Go see our friends at Conway Furniture. Look, we love doing the Couch Potato segment. And it can be a good or a bad thing. It can celebrate somebody or a play or something. It can pick on somebody, all right? But some news came down. We obviously had very different couch potatoes lined up this week, but some news came down as we record this today. It's Thursday, August 15th. And Sabby, man, the local junior hockey scene lost an absolute giant. Doug Kennedy, who'd been battling for a while now, obviously. We've lost him. And man, when you talk about people who are passionate about local junior hockey, junior C in particular, and making it a great place to play and be involved in, he was as big as it gets. And we've lost him. And it's just, it's huge.
He established junior hockey in Kincardine. The Kincardine Bulldogs helped lead them to some semifinal appearances, some quarterfinal appearances. He has been the North Division director, manager with the PJHL. He's been everywhere. He talks to everyone, and just a great community guy. He was also a counselor of the municipality of Kincardine. And if you talk to anybody in the local area across Midwestern Ontario and mention Doug Kennedy in a hockey conversation, guaranteed 99.9% of the people will know who you're talking about. When I moved to Wingham almost 20 years ago, I met Doug through the hockey circles, and in the fall of 2005 is when we started doing regular season games. Those first 2 years, Kincardine were the winners of the local junior C loop, and they'd go on and face Penetang. And I rode the team bus with the group. And Doug was the first one to offer me a ride, made sure that I had dinner with the team, and had everything I needed to do my job to broadcast the game back to the local area from Penetang. Got us set up in Kincardine to broadcast games there. And a fantastic man, and always a smile on his face when talking about hockey. And he will be truly missed, not only by his family, of course, but the hockey community as well.
100%. And I mean, he's one of those guys that just has legendary status in the community for good reason. You mentioned all the different things he was involved with, just in terms of team management, starting up that Bulldogs program, moving into an upper management position with the league. Like, this guy cared so much about local junior C and the local hockey scene in general. And, you know, obviously last year in June, he was honored with the OHA's Golden Stick Award, which is given out to somebody who gives a ton of their time and energy, not as a player, and they're recognized. It's basically the OHA's Lifetime Achievement Award. And could you put it any better when you talk about a guy like Doug? I don't think you could. A completely deserving winner. And, you know, Steve, you know, the other thing too about him, like, he was always so appreciative when we were around broadcasting games, always made a point to come over and thank us and say, I was listening last week. Like, of course you were, Doug. Like, you love hockey. Like, I'm not surprised. And, even when he was sick, he was still showing up at the rink all the time. Like, we saw him last year in the Mount Forest Hanover series. He poked into one of the Listowel playoff games. Like, he was still coming around and being involved because he just loved being at the rink that much. He will be sorely missed. I mean, an absolute giant in terms of local hockey around here. And things just won't be the same. They just won't be the same without Doug at the rink. Rest in peace to Doug, and all of our love to his family and friends, of whom he had many across the entire hockey spectrum. And like you mentioned as well, the political spectrum as well. Doug, you will be very sorely missed. No good way to move on from something like that, Steve. But obviously, the news that we just shared with everybody will obviously be tying heavily into a pretty special year at CKNX Jr Hockey. It's hard to believe, man. It's incredible. You and Scott Pettigrew got this thing off the ground back with that great Listowel Cyclones run back in 2004. And 20 years later, CKNX Jr Hockey is celebrating 2 decades broadcasting games in our region. It's going to be a really incredible season. And of course, we're going to now be tying in quite a bit of celebrating Doug Kennedy into that as well. But man, when you think back, like, 20 years, and last year, the way it ended, just an unbelievable season with the Cyclones going all the way again, the Barons going so deep into the Schmaltz Cup playoffs. I mean, 20 years, as you look back, it's got to be pretty impressive.
Well, it is amazing. And, everything actually started in the spring of 2004 when the Wingham Ironmen made
That's right,
the Junior C final, All Ontario, against the Grimsby Peach Kings. Of course, our friend Louis Livingston was the head coach of that team, and it was Bill Brown was on the mic for CKNX because they needed to do something because it was just too packed and not everybody could get into the rink. So they had the CKNX crew broadcast the games. I arrived in the fall of 2004. And in the spring of 2005 is when we did the Listowel Cyclones run. They finished down in the list in standings. They were I believe, the 7th place team, and they went through and they knocked off 2-1 and ended up playing Owen Sound in the finals to make it to the Cherry Cup round robin. They lost to Chatham and St. Catharines that year, but what a success story. And then in the fall of 2005, we started our regular season broadcasts, and it's amazing what you can see over 20 years. We had the Walkerton Hawks come back, reintegrated into the league. They go on a tear to win several championships in a row. We saw some great players. The Kincardine Bulldogs, of course, starting things off in their 2 years of success, then coming back years later to regain the crown. We saw, of course, the Wingham Ironmen go all the way to the semis. Again, Louis Livingston at the helm and Aaron Armstrong and company. We saw a record-breaking performance in the year, most points scored by a junior C player, provincially all-time record, which still stands. Mount Forest winning their first championship since the early 90s. We saw Mitchell come into the loop. They won a championship. So we've just seen so many things from the junior C standpoint. And then, of course, the Listowel Cyclones, 2 Sutherland Cups. You think this organization started in the early to mid 70s, and all those years that they played C and B, and it wasn't until recently that they were able to hoist their first Sutherland Cup victory, and then just last year their second. So it's been spectacular. Of course, it can't happen without the help of many, many people. Yeah, sure, you hear a couple of voices on the mics every Friday, but everybody that has a hand in it behind the scenes, from especially the fans who are very, very receptive to what we do, to our sponsors, to our producers, and to everybody else who helps put things in motion. Engineering, our tech crew. We've come a long way, Ryan, from phone lines.
Yes, we have.
To everything else, and being able to, catalog games and things along those lines. So it's been an amazing run. We're looking for more, and this season is gearing up to be another great one. Hanover, Mount Forest, Fergus expected to excel in the Pollock Division of the PJHL once again. Wingham could be making some noise with some additions, and the Listowel Cyclones look as good as last year. They've got some key returning players, just about their entire defense core. They got Riley Arts in net, Mason Urig, and Kyle Burkett up front. They've made some additions, so it should be another exciting run. And a little bit of a different story in the GOJHL too, now that they've gone to 2 conferences instead of the 3. So that will play a factor, right? And will make it a little different for us, because we're going to get to see some teams that we've never seen before, including the Strathroy Rockets on September the 13th. That's the season opener for the Listowel Cyclones as we get underway in 3-4 weeks time. So
yeah, it's going to be incredible. And for everybody that's excited for hockey to hit your airwaves again on CKNX AM 920 and CKNX.ca, Friday the 13th, September 13th, we will be there. Myself, Steve, and JK on the call. I'll be down at ice level. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're gonna watch the Listowel Cyclones lift another banner up at the Steve Kerr. Boy, that arena, has there been a more christened arena that opened up and has had so much success? It's going to be a lot of fun. So tune in that night, 7:30 puck drop, but tune in obviously for the OHA this week, which will continue this year. 20-year anniversary. There's going to be a lot of special stuff and special people that we're going to reach out to and talk to throughout the year, obviously. And I just want to thank the team games again, and everybody involved at the rinks, the fans, of course. Special shout out to our engineer and our head technician, Rob Enders, for helping us move past that phone line era. I mean, he's been a big reason why we've been able to be, have very technologically sound broadcasts for a number of years. And it's incredible to go into the rink and have the jacket on. And I never get stopped more when I'm wearing the CKNX gear than when I'm walking to a rink, driving up to a rink, or in the rink. I mean, sometimes it takes a couple minutes to get down to the broadcast booth because so many people are stopping us and want to chat and tell us that they're listening every week, which is just such a pleasure, and it's so much fun to do. And obviously you and JK are going to be carrying the bulk of the load behind the mic this year. I'll pop in when I can, when I'm not down in Guelph, because we're gearing up for a really exciting storm season. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and covering these two leagues, it's just so much fun. You mentioned some of the storylines we've seen over the years, crazy calls. I mean, Steve, I still have your Jack O'Donnell overtime winner on my phone here, and I listen to it quite often because it's as good as it gets. Hey, that's what you dream of as a broadcaster, an overtime championship clinching goal call. And Steve Sabourin had a whale of one last year when Jack O'Donnell swept that loose puck in behind Brandon Abbott. Yeah, I'm interested to see, obviously, with the two conference system now, Listowel opening against Strathroy. They mixed in some more interdivisional games over the last couple of years, but now, like, you're going to get a healthy mix of different teams that we've never seen. I like it. I think it's a good move for the GOJHL to showcase the talent. A lot of these kids move up and end up playing Tier 2 Junior A or even OHL hockey. I've watched a number of players come through and play in the OHL. I like it. I think it's a good system, and it's good for the marketing of the league, Steve.
Yeah, and there's going to be some growing pains.
Sure.
The one thing you lose is, like, with the 3-conference system, there's only a sprinkle of teams that didn't make the playoffs. Now you're going to have 10 teams not make it through on a 1-8 setup. But that's something they're going to have to work through. Logistically, it's going to be a lot more easy. It's going to be easier for a playoff format, right? The other thing too is, yes, now you get to play guys from other areas instead of just waiting for the Sutherland Cup situation. Is you're going to see players from other regions and play teams from other regions, and I think that's going to give you a bigger baseline to say, hey, how good are we? And that will help the communities and the teams develop, of course. And you look at where you get to travel, who you get to play, will mean some longer bus rides for sure, but in the end, it will be. I think it will help the league a lot in producing elite players.
Absolutely, and they've already done a great job of that, and this is only going to help that even further. It's going to be a really fun season. September 13th, 7:30 puck drop, just after 7. As always, the OHA This Week will air, leading into the home opener and banner raising of the Sutherland Cup title championship for the Listowel Cyclones. September 13th, 7:30. Myself, Steve Sabourin on the call, JK on the mic with him. We will be there. The following week, September 20th, will be our Junior C opener. And who are we opening the season with this year, Steve?
Well, that will be Hanover. We will be Hanover.
The champs.
Gotta go with the defending champs. They'll face off against Kincardine on the 20th. So again, with the scheduling, we do our best to get everybody fitted in as much as possible. We'll be making a trip to Fergus this year, albeit not till closer to the end of the schedule, but Fergus will pick up a couple of road games. We're also going to be stopping in Stratford for a game, as the Listowel Cyclones will be on the road for a Friday night, of course. But we're going to do our best to fit everybody in at least a couple of times and then get to the playoffs. 24 games, Ryan, on the schedule, and then off to the postseason.
Absolutely, which is always a lot of fun. And last year it was, boy, what a marathon we went through. The longest we've ever gone into a year, wrapping up with that incredible Sutherland Cup run. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, you can catch all that game action and the OHA this week every week on CKNX AM 920, CKNX.ca. Come celebrate 20 great years of local playoff broadcasting at CKNX with us this year. We can't wait to get back in the rink. All right, you can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. Follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. We really appreciate it. Clark, you'll be back next week. I'll be back next week for more instigating. And one more time, our honorary couch potato this week, brought to you by Conway Furniture, our friend Doug Kennedy. Godspeed, Doug. Hope you've got a good seat at the big rink upstairs. Rest in peace, Doug Kennedy.